Hey, what's going on? This is Jordan from 103.5 KISS FM, and you're watching Taped with Rabbi Doug.
We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug on your TV tonight.
But Daddy, I want to watch Monday Night Football.
Forget about Monday Night Football. There's no other thing we're gonna watch on Monday but Rabbi Doug.
Yeah, Rabbi Doug on TV tonight. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. Oh, everybody talk about that.
Shalom and welcome to Taped with Rabbi Doug. Glad you could be with us today. My guest today is Dr. Steven Steinberg. Welcome to the show.
My pleasure.
Dr. Steinberg is a dentist and an author, and he has authored the book that we're going to talk about today, Light, Love, Life, Shalom, Your Path to Happiness at Work and at Home, by Dr. Steven Steinberg. This book, Dr. Steinberg, is something sort of unique to most books that you find out on the market today, because it's really based on your own personal experiences and working out your own, let's say, problems or the things that have gotten in the way in your career, in your life, and how you have found a way to make peace with those things, how to find a way to overcome obstacles. And it's a most interesting book. Now, I just want to start out, first of all, asking you to tell our viewers a little bit about you. Where did you grow up?
Actually, I grew up right here in Chicagoland. I was on the south side of Chicago. And I went to Akiba Jewish Day School when it was on the south side.
Right. And which now is still in Hyde Park.
Right, when it was farther south.
Right.
And so Chicagoan through and through. I went to Ida Crown Jewish Academy for high school.
Did you have my father for chemistry?
Yes.
Very nice.
Yes. And it was fun.
Very good.
And he actually was part of a number of individuals who I had that I was very lucky to have, who piqued my interest in science. And probably the one who piqued my interest the most was my father, but I avoided, he's a dentist, I avoided dentistry because I wanted to do what I wanted. But it turned out, what did I want to do? Oh, I'd like to do some research, and especially in medicine, sort of like what my father does. And I'd like to treat patients, have a practice, sort of like my father does. And I'd like, etc., etc. And until I realized that I applied to dental schools and to medical schools and one dental school, I got accepted to one dental school and told all the medical schools, forget it. Because after 4 years, I could walk into an established practice.
That's true. There's a big difference.
Big difference. Now, I went to the University of Chicago undergrad, so I was very lucky in my life to have tremendous teachers with depth and with also practical. It's amazing, combining the intellectualization with the practical. It's the kind of people I just sponge off of. And the learning that I did Jewishly, I kept up with Daf Yomi when it was Daila Daf, and made it most of the way through the last cycle. I plan on making it absolutely through this cycle. And I mentioned those because when I was in dental school, I was the regional director of Chicago NCSY. Before it joined with the
national TSY.
It was TSY. It was Traditional Synagogue Youth, Traditional Synagogue, Skokie Valley, Ezra's Israel,
A.G.
Beth, Kins in those days. It was a wonderful experience because at that point it was a huge conglomeration, and it was mostly public school kids. So I, being from Ida Crown, from the academy, got a leadership experience.
Sure.
And I gave some Divrei Torah, some seminars. I ended up being the regional director, as I said, one of the years I was in dental school, and I just never stopped giving presentations. I've been a scholar in residence down at the Hillel at Illinois, down in Champaign-Urbana, as well as other Hillels and other places. And I've kept up with both Jewish and secular science and spirituality, reading and learning. In fact, I started this book 20 years ago as an entirely different book. And I had about 4 chapters done. And I want to tell you, looking back at it now, that book stunk.
What was the subject of that first book?
It was the same kind of subject, but the subject was one of the chapters in this book still has that title, and it's called The Sacred Path of Serving Others. Not a bad title, except for one problem. I had almost no story. Boring as anything. I would have loved it, and my mother would have loved it. My wife wouldn't have even liked it because she loves stories. She helped me develop an appreciation for story. The best story I've got is one of the beauties of learning in Israel. She went to Israel to learn for a year after she was done in college. I'm sorry, when she was done with high school. I went to Neve Yerushalayim, and about 17 hours after she left, I decided I better go learn. My mother thought it was amazing. Suddenly the boy has to go to yeshiva to learn. It was the best decision I made in my life. We've been married for 36 years. It'll be this week. 36 years, and it's just amazing. So what the book really accomplishes is it ties in all of my thinking and all of my experiences, especially focusing in on 2 fundamental experiences: a bicycle accident that I had in the year 2001 in the summer, and being diagnosed with Parkinson's disease.
Which is the next thing I was going to bring up. People actually know you as the dentist with Parkinson's. That's kind of a side name you've been given. And what year were you diagnosed?
2005.
And how long were you practicing beyond that point?
I had already stopped practicing at that point because of the bike accident. Let me tell you a little bit about the bike accident to put this into context. The bicycle accident was basically, I was riding down Sheridan Road. I was in triathlons. I had already stopped doing the triathlons, but what I was doing now was I did every Sunday an 1.5-hour bike ride. Suffice it to say that a van turned in front of me. And the first thing I saw of it, it was 1 second away from impact. And God, it had to be God, took my hands, grabbed the handlebars, and had me turn the handles. Now, I thought about this later. I thought, well, if God's going to do something here, come on, bring out the big guns, make the van disappear. Sorry, I don't work that way. I learned to have gratitude for everything that happens, and I searched for gratitude. I realized, you know, with my hands like this and the handlebars like this, I can't get impaled by the bike. So I avoided getting impaled. I did hit that van. I went into an in-body, out-of-body kind of experience, and I remember my head hit the van, but I had a helmet on, so it was saved there.
Very smart.
Anybody who goes out on a bike, even if it's around the block, you can fall just getting on the bike. And the cement and the streets are pretty solid. You don't want to have that kind of thing happen. It's really seriously a significant blessing that, among other problems, I don't have a brain problem in that respect. So I hit the van, I bounced off, I fell on a piece of grass that was like about the size of this table. And from the waist down, I was fine. Waist up, different story. Got to the hospital, and the orthopedic guy takes a look at the x-rays, and he comes in and he goes, "Those are remarkable x-rays." You do not want to hear the word remarkable with your x-rays. You want to hear dull, boring, see it all the time, have a nice day, go home, enjoy your life. I had 2 broken collarbones called clavicles. That wasn't what got him all excited. 5 broken ribs. That didn't get him all excited. It was the scapula. There's this huge bone on your back. It's like a triangular bone. That's huge. Nobody breaks a scapula. I broke a scapula. And that's the one. He hadn't seen a broken scapula all year, and it was already June 24th. So I'm glad I made his day, but it wasn't exactly my idea of a good time. I was in the hospital for 4 days, and nowadays, that's a long time. And what was really the problem for me was when I came back to the office, I had a shake in my right hand. And the question was, what was that shake? Well, it did not do the kinds of things that a Parkinsonian shake does. I won't describe that. So what they came up with is there's a syndrome called benign essential familial tremor. Benign essential familial tremor. When you hear 4 words to describe a medical condition, it really means we don't know what the heck we're talking about. It was one of those idiopathic.
It was a neurological.
Yeah, and it's benign. It doesn't really do anything other than make you shake. Familial, it's passed on in the family. Essential, that describes the kind of tremor that it is. I'm a dentist. Can you imagine? Hi, I'm Dr. Steve Steinberg, I'll be your dentist. No, you won't. People vote with their feet rather quickly. And this accident happened 6 months after we moved into a new location that we put in state-of-the-art equipment.
Wow.
So I crashed physically, financially, and you can imagine emotionally and spiritually. I needed help. I was asking the question, why me? And I had some friends that got me to an incredible psychologist. She saved me. She really, literally saved me. And I call her in the book Hope. She doesn't want her name now.
Right, Hope, yeah.
And it's a little corny, but hope is the ability to see a path to a better future with honesty about present problems. Most people like to think of themselves as optimists. The problem with optimism is it's like blind faith in the future. No matter what, I'm going to be okay. No, it's just not true.
I want to just come back because I know our viewers are listening about your accident and the story. What was the physical healing of the bones? What was the process of that besides the spiritual and the mental healing that you needed? How does something like, did you have to wear a back brace, a body brace for things like that to heal? Because I've never even heard of that being broken.
The interesting thing was every single part that I broke is not a bone that one does surgery for, which was great. And it's something you heal on your own. And it heals quite painfully. Imagine 5 ribs broken. Okay. 1 broken rib, if you cough, forget it. If you laugh, forget it. And I tell jokes all the time. And my kids tell me jokes. And so I just love to laugh. There was a blessing that summer that it was the best summer for allergens that in years. I didn't sneeze very much. So I had what's called a wedge, which is just a triangular kind of a deal. Looks like a plane. And you sleep on it so that you're not flat, because to go flat was going to hurt and stretch and pull on things. So that, basically, my therapy was a loving family who would run and get me stuff, especially my son. He gave up his summer to basically help me heal. And he had to do a lot of stuff that a son shouldn't have to do for a father.
Wow.
And it was very challenging. The interesting thing from my standpoint was the physical problems were not the biggest problem. The shaking was huge because of how it affected the practice. Eventually I had to stop doing dentistry because of the shaking. And 3 months after leaving the dental field, I got a re-diagnosis because things had changed. Went to a motion specialist. He looks at me across the room and says, yeah, you got Parkinson's disease. And then he starts describing this disease to my wife and to me, that 60% or 60 to 80% of the cells of the substantia nigra, which is one part of the brain, the cells there produce dopamine, those cells are dead. They're gone. 60, 80% before you see any symptoms. My wife, without missing a beat, goes, you mean to tell me you dragged me all this way to tell me my husband is missing some brain cells? I could have told you that. It was very funny.
Wow. So are they saying that that the Parkinson's was completely due to the accident, or that it was something that eventually would have shown itself even if the accident did not take place?
Yes. They don't know exactly. They think this, they think that. They're beginning to think that trauma has a lot more to do with it than they first thought. They used to think that trauma has nothing to do with it. Now they're starting to say, excuse me, boxers may have a, like Muhammad Ali, might have a little bit more of a tendency for it. They're in the middle of shifting their paradigm on that. So whether the bicycle accident contributed to it or not, it certainly contributed to the benign essential familial tumor. Now I will tell everybody the one thing that they've got going that is unbelievable. They've got a bunch of medications that are very nice for it. But there is something called deep brain stimulation. And you can see 2 spots here.
Oh yeah, yeah, you have 2 like little scars. So.
What they do is they make like the size of a quarter, they make a hole, and they take leads and go into the part of the brain behind the substantia nigra, the subthalamic nucleus, for those of you who are interested, who know. And they have 4 leads, and they try to place it just the right place in the brain. And that way they can, if it's off a little bit, they can use lead 3 instead of lead 1, etc., etc. And what they do is it comes out here, there's a cord that goes right behind your ear, stops there, second cord connects and attaches to a battery just like a pacemaker that sits here. Same thing for the other side. Because in 3 to 5 years, the battery wears out, you do the surgery, they replace the battery, but they don't have to go back in the brain. Now I got to tell you, I am a speaker. Being a speaker, I default to talking. So one of the most amazing things in this surgery is they wake you up to test whether they're in the right place, to be sure you don't have some side effects. So they wake me up, I ask, is my brain open? They go, yeah. That is so cool. I get so excited. I'm just loving this. I mean, you know, I'm a medical professional, so that's... My neurologist was going crazy. There's a neurologist who's near your waist, and there's a neurosurgeon doing the actual surgery. They work together. He's trying to find out stuff. Now, the problem was, if I'm talking, excuse me. Thank you. If I'm talking, the bones get sound vibrations going in them, and these leads, these electronic parts and devices are so precise, they don't work if you're talking. They forgot to tell me. So he's trying to figure out, how do I get him caught? He goes back to the deep dark recesses of his experience in Sunday school. What would happen whenever he was talking? His teacher would say, "Sheket bavakasha." So he turns to me and goes, "Steve, sheket bavakasha." Then he got an opportunity to tell me. We later figured out that was probably, he's actually in the DuPage County Hospital. So we figured that was the first time in history of the DuPage County Hospital that there was ever Hebrew spoken there.
To a patient in the middle of
surgery. It was unbelievable surgery. At 7:45 in the morning I go in. I come out at 3 o'clock in the evening and afternoon, and at 6 o'clock the next night, my wife is driving me home. She said, "This is like drive-through brain surgery." One final funny thing, before I left the hospital, the neurologist spoke with family and said, "Look, for 1 week he's got to be watched carefully, 24/7. Why? He might have a seizure, he might have some complications. Very unusual. Don't worry about it, but keep an eye on him. If he exhibits any bizarre behavior, call me." And without missing a beat, all 4 of my kids said, "How will we know? He's always a bit bizarre." And my son says, "Listen, Doc, if he acts normal, you're getting a call." We have fun with it. And because the truth is, life is short.
Tell me about what the stimulation, the deep brain stimulation. What did it do for you? You said it was a positive thing for you. What did it do for you that if you didn't have it, you might have had a more intense experience?
Well, here's what it does. depending on the person, it can take somebody who, this is what I was looking like. A little like Michael J. Fox, right? So what it does is it takes this motion and look at it now. You wouldn't think this guy's got Parkinson's.
No, you wouldn't.
Here, you'll see there's a very fine tremor. Fast movements.
People without Parkinson's sometimes have it.
Because that's the benign essential tremor. What we found out is I've got both. It wasn't that I was misdiagnosed, it was that it started with this and then over time led to the Parkinson's. And
very interesting, because when I first spoke with you and we talked, until I read the book, I had no idea you had Parkinson's, so I would have never known that.
Because when we met, it was after the surgery. Just barely after the surgery. And the beauty of that surgery is, be very careful, it was wonderfully effective for the shaking. Many other symptoms that I have, I still have, and I do take medication, but about half the medications I was taking before the surgery.
Wow.
So that's really nice.
Let me pause for a moment and just tell our viewers, I'm here with Dr. Steven Steinberg. He is a dentist and has written a book, Light, Love, Life, Shalom, Your Path to Happiness at Work and at Home. And we're going to talk more with him. Stay with us here on Taped with Rabbi Doug. We'll be right back.
Once they've outgrown their toddler seat, they're still not ready for adult safety belts alone. 4'9" is the magic number. Until then, kids need a booster seat. Make sure your little pumpkin gets there safely. Visit boosterseat.gov.
Welcome back. I'm here with Dr. Steven Steinberg, the author of Light, Love, Life, Shalom, Your Path to Happiness at Work and at Home. And Dr. Steinberg, you told us about what led to your writing the book. After all your experiences, after your surgeries, after your accident, after the Parkinson's certainly developed into a full-blown Parkinson's in your life, how did you come to getting back to a few chapters of something you started writing years ago and put together a book about how you've overcome your emotional and physical and spiritual blockages?
The book basically, in many ways, wrote itself because of the depth of the experiences. Very simply, this book asks the question, why me? We all have that question.
Sure we do.
We all have that question, either ourselves, a relative, a friend. Oh God, why did you let my sister die? Oh God, why do you let there be wars? And in Chicago, especially on the north side, people ask the question, oh God, why don't you let the Cubs win the World Series? Just one. The deep, dark questions of our generation. The truth is, the real question that we're asking is, in the presence of life's challenges, how can we ever be happy? And the answer is through the healing power of values. Timeless values. Values that have stood the test of time. Those values can lead us to happiness. How? Values are what's important to us. Values is what gives our lives meaning and purpose. The power of purpose overrides the pain of problems and heals us from those problems. Heals can stand for H-E-A-L-S. Helps empower acts of loving service. It turns out by serving others, we ourselves are healed of problems that we have. I help you as a dentist, for example. You can't take care of your teeth that way. You help me as a rabbi, though, in speaking on Shabbat and in helping in times of grief and helping in times of joy. What a wonderful thing you can do. It's the sacred path of serving others, but just what I've called your path to happiness. So
let me ask you this then. If I took each of these 4 subjects that your book begins with, light, give me a sentence to tell me how light can help you. And before I do that, I have to ask you: is this all based on things you learned with Hope when you were meeting with her on your regular meetings?
Very good question. The answer is Hope helped me to reformulate them in the therapy. And in some of the stories she told me, she was a survivor of the Holocaust. And she taught me a lot of lessons. Maybe you'll have me back, I'll tell you some of those lessons.
That would be a great thing. I would love to do that. Let's talk about light. So tell me, give me an explanation of light.
So let's go over the whole thing quickly. Picture Jacob's ladder. It had angels going up and angels coming down and God at the top. Well, this is very much like that. Light is the source of your purpose. Light, Torah, or light, enlightenment. How do you know things? Knowledge, and that is always coming from light. Light is the search for knowing. And that's the first step. The second step is when we get up there and God's there, you're just engulfed in what is the purpose of human life. To love. Not love the feeling. Love the value. Love the verb. To love. To serve. Now, in the Eastern religions, you're done. You're at the top of the ladder. You're up there with God. You're in nirvana. You're done. Judaism says, be responsible. A responsible person now comes down the ladder. Now is not a questioner, but as a messenger. With the message that through loving action, you can change the world. So we don't transcend this world. We come back in it and attempt to transform this world. Each person has a particular expertise that he or she brings to the world. And if you can get balanced harmonic unity, you have shalom. So it's light up the ladder, looking for the right thing. Love, the purpose. Back down into our world where you actualize that value. That's Kedusha. Kedusha,
holiness,
is that holiness is a mitzvah, one act of commandment, one act of responsibility is a quantum unit of holiness. A mitzvah is a quantum unit of holiness. Add those up together in a lifetime, you've got happiness. Shalom is really happiness. Shalom does mean peace.
Inner peace. Inner peace.
Inner peace. Exactly. Happiness is inner peace. And that's the path that you have to take. Light, love, life, that'll get you shalom. And unfortunately, as long as we're alive, we never finally arrive. The next day you've got tomorrow's problems, and you start the cycle all over again, but at a higher level.
Wonderful. I want to thank you so much. Definitely worthwhile read. Light, Love, Life, Shalom. Your Path to Happiness at Work and at Home. Dr. Steven Steinberg, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. I hope people will get this book. I know it's available everywhere, and take a look at it because it's a worthwhile read for everyone. And I hope we will have you back again on the show. Remember, check out our website, www.tvrabbi.com, where you can also see other shows on the web as well as all our information. If you want to email Dr. Steinberg, you can email us at info@tvrabbi.com. I will forward the email to him, and I know he'll get back to each of you individually. Hope to see you next time, same place, right here on Taped with Rabbi Doug. Shalom, everyone, and thank you again to Dr. Steven Steinberg.
Shalom.
You're gonna get married or you're gonna die. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug on the TV tonight.
This has been a Taped with Rabbi Doug production.